Hi, I'm Curtis, 38, and my entire life flipped upside down on a random Tuesday at 3:12 p.m. when my phone pinged with a break-in detected alert, and I opened the live feed to see my brother's U-Haul backed into my driveway like he just closed escrow on my house. Let me back it up, because if I don't give you context, none of this is gonna sound real. I work in commercial architecture, designing sleek glass towers for downtown skylines. I'm a detail guy. A clean lines, fixed schedule, 2 coffee a day, smart thermostat. Don't touch my tools kind of guy. I bought my house 7 years ago after winning a huge project bid. It's a minimalist mid-century modern with polished concrete floors, a floating staircase, and a kitchen that belongs in Architectural Digest. I live alone. On purpose. My brother Devin? Devin is the opposite of that. Same DNA, different operating system. He's 35, has 2 kids with 2 different women, and floats from one startup idea to the next like a guy trying out usernames. Right now, he's calling himself a digital mindset coach. I don't know what that means. I don't think he knows what it means. Anyway, 3 months ago Devin hit me up asking if I could help out with a place to stay for a few weeks. Just until he landed something solid. I said no. Politely, but clearly. I told him I needed the house quiet. I was in crunch time on a municipal courthouse project. Plus, I knew how his a few weeks turned into a fiscal year. He dropped it. Or so I thought. Fast forward to last Tuesday. I'm at work, deep in render revisions, when my phone buzzes. Smart home alert, break-in detected, front door access via duplicate key. I blink at it. There's only 3 people who have a key to my house, me, my ex, don't ask, and my mother. I open the camera feed. And there's Devin. In my foyer. Shirt half untucked, holding a bag from Panda Express, yelling behind him. Yo, Jules, watch the edge of that coffee table. A moment later, his girlfriend Juliana enters the frame. She's carrying a baby in one arm and a full-size printer in the other. I just sat there staring at the screen while an alarm blared in the background and my $4,000 front door was being held open with a goddamn flip-flop. Then my smart home system's voice kicked in. This is a secured property. Please state the name of the homeowner and security phrase. Devin looks straight at the camera and goes, Curtis Thompson. I know the phrase. It's chill, I'm his brother. The system responds. Incorrect. Law enforcement has been notified. My jaw dropped. And that's when I spotted the U-Haul. On my driveway. Backed right up like they were moving in. They weren't visiting. They were relocating. I bolted out of the office, heart pounding, trying to figure out if this was real life, or some elaborate prank that had taken a hard left turn into felony territory. And that was only the beginning. By the time I reached home, there were 2 squad cars parked on my street, lights off but clearly active. My neighbor across the road, Gary, the neighborhood HOA president and proud owner of the world's most judgmental lawn gnome, was standing in his robe with a mug of tea, watching like he was front row at Wimbledon. I parked a few houses down, trying to keep my brain from boiling over. My phone buzzed again, 7 missed calls from Devin. 3 voicemails. 1 text from Juliana that just said, Hey Curtis! Little hiccup with the alarm LOL. Call me? I stepped out of the car just as Officer Ramirez flagged me down. She recognized me immediately, thanks to the security footage I'd sent through the app. Mr. Thompson? We spoke on the phone? I nodded. She jerked her thumb toward the house. Your brother claims you gave him permission to stay here. I just stared at her. Does he also claim I left him a welcome basket and personalized bathrobe? She didn't crack a smile. I respect that. Did you authorize anyone to enter the property? No. Absolutely not. She nodded once. That's what we needed to confirm. He had a key, but no code for the alarm, no authorization, and clearly no shame. We walked toward the house together. As we stepped through the front door, I saw the disaster unfold. Boxes were everywhere. Someone had dragged a king-size mattress into my office and leaned it vertically against a bookshelf. The kitchen counters were covered in grocery bags. Devin had apparently stocked up. I saw Lucky Charms, 5 different Hot Pockets, and something that looked suspiciously like a bottle of barefoot Moscato. And there they were, Devin, red-faced, pacing like a caged animal in the living room, and Juliana, barefoot on my sofa, bouncing the baby while scrolling through TikTok. She looked up and smiled like we were long-lost friends meeting at brunch. "Oh hey, Curtis! We were just getting settled in." "Settled in?" I asked, my voice going hoarse. Devin stepped in. "Listen, bro. I meant to call you. But you never answer your phone when you're in work mode. And we were literally days away from being out on the street." "Days away?" I snapped. "So your solution was to break in and claim squatters' rights?" He scoffed. "Break in? I had a key. That key was for emergencies, Devin. Not for unauthorized housejackings." Juliana chimed in, still bouncing the baby. "I told him we should text first. But he said you'd be cool with it once you saw the baby." She held up her daughter like I was the Pope blessing an infant. The kid looked cute, to be fair, but this was not a Hallmark moment. Devin waved his hands. "Come on, man. You've got this massive place. You barely even use half the rooms. Just let us crash here for a couple months. 3 tops. 3 months? You won't even notice us," he said earnestly. Behind him, the baby let out a wail that would have shattered glass if I had any left. I turned to Officer Ramirez. "They need to go. Now." She gave me a look I'll never forget. Professional, neutral, but with just enough of a flicker in her eyes that said I would lose it too. "We'll escort them out, Mr. Thompson," she said. "Do you want to press charges?" I hesitated. Juliana was now crying. Devin looked like a kid caught stealing candy, and the baby had turned her cries into full banshee mode. "No," I said eventually. "Just get them out of my house." Devin grabbed my arm as the officers started ushering them toward the door. "You really gonna do this, man? To family?" I looked him dead in the eyes. "You're not family when you treat me like a resource instead of a person." He flinched. But he didn't say another word. As they stepped out, I caught a final glimpse of Gary across the street, giving me a solemn little golf clap. I shut the door. And then sat on the floor of my minimalist, perfectly balanced living room, trying to figure out when my own brother decided I was just a wallet with Wi-Fi. I thought the worst was over. They were out. I hadn't pressed charges. I even paid for an Uber XL to take them and their screaming child wherever they claimed Plan B was. I figured that would be the end of it, an awkward family footnote, one of those stories you tell years later at Thanksgiving with a forced laugh. I was wrong. The next morning, my phone rang at 6:42 a.m. It was my mom. "Curtis," she snapped, skipping right past good morning. "What did you do to your brother?" I sat up in bed groggy, still wearing the clothes I'd collapsed in. "Sorry, what? You had him dragged out of your house by the police? With a baby in his arms?" I took a deep breath. "Mom, he broke into my house. He had a key. For emergencies. Not squatting. Not subletting my office into a nursery." She wasn't listening. "Devin said you slammed the door in Juliana's face? That poor girl. You terrified her." "No, Mom. My alarm terrified her. As it should. Because they broke in." Silence. Then, "You've always been selfish, Curtis." Boom. There it was. The greatest hits of Curtis's childhood. "You've always been selfish." Never mind the fact that I paid for her roof repair last winter. Or the fact that I co-signed a car loan for Devin 2 years ago that he still hadn't paid off. Never mind the fact that I was literally at work when my brother decided to star in a live-action reboot of Goldilocks, Grown-Ass Man Edition. "They showed up uninvited," I said, forcing my voice to stay even. "They didn't ask. They didn't call. They just assumed they could move into my house like it was some Airbnb with free cereal." My mother sighed dramatically, like I was the unreasonable one. "You have space, Curtis. And they needed help. They always need help, Mom. And it's always me who's expected to provide it." She said nothing. "Let me guess," I added. "You knew about this too?" Her silence answered for her. "I'm done," I said. "I've let Devin leech off me for years. I'm not doing it anymore. He has to figure it out like the rest of us. Family doesn't turn its back." She whispered. Family doesn't sneak in through the side door and steal your living room. I snapped. I hung up. Then I did something I'd been avoiding for 2 years. I opened the Emergency Contacts tab on my home security system and deleted every name except my own. No more spare keys. No more assumptions. No more emergencies that looked suspiciously like opportunism. Later that day, I got a voicemail from Devin. I wasn't going to listen. I really wasn't. But I did. It started off normal. A little shamefaced, a little performative. Yo, Curtis, hey man, I didn't mean for things to go sideways. Then it pivoted. You made us look like criminals. Like we were invading you. Do you know how humiliating it was to explain to the cops that I'm your brother? He paused. Look. I talked to a lawyer. And technically, since I had a key and was moving in with the intent of establishing residency, it might qualify as tenancy. You could have handled this with a civil conversation instead of calling the cops. But you wanted to make a scene. You wanted to punish me. And then, this guy actually said this. I think you owe us something for the trauma. Juliana's considering seeing someone. Maybe we can talk about a settlement or something. I sat in stunned silence, staring at the screen. Did my brother just threaten me with legal action for kicking him out of my own house? That was the moment. Not the break-in. Not the baby on my couch. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just a boundary violation. This was war. And that's when I got my lawyer involved. Her name was Trina Calderon, and she was everything I needed in that moment. 5 feet 2 inches, clinically allergic to bullshit, and sharper than a scalpel made of sarcasm. A friend from my grad program had recommended her when I said I needed someone who'd legally throat-punch my brother. I forwarded her the security footage, the alarm logs, the voicemail, even the U-Haul timestamp from my Nest Cam. When she finished watching, she leaned back in her chair, lifted one perfectly arched eyebrow, and said, Well, that's bold. You think I overreacted? I asked. Curtis, you underreacted. I would have had him served before he finished unpacking the Keurig. I exhaled. So, what can I do? First, we send a cease and desist. No contact. No approach. No backdoor key usage. Second, we file a formal report with your local precinct stating you did not authorize tenancy, and there was no lease agreement, verbal or otherwise. That voicemail alone is a gift-wrapped declaration of bad faith. She paused, scrolling. And third, we prepare for the drama. I blinked. There's more? Trina gave me the kind of sympathetic look reserved for people about to be emotionally mugged. You said your mother knew. That tells me Devin's been spinning this into a family martyrdom narrative. He's probably already turned you into the villain on every group chat from here to Aunt Janine's prayer circle. I sighed. I hate being dragged into this family circus. You're not in the circus, she said. You're the guy they were trying to turn into the tent. Trina moved fast. The cease and desist was emailed and physically delivered the next day. She also had a firm send a certified letter directly to Juliana, laying out crystal clear expectations: no contact, no threats, no settlement requests over trauma incurred by trespassing. By Thursday, the fallout had started. First, I got a message from my Uncle Dave. It read, Hey man. Sorry about all this. Your mom's been venting. Just wanted to say I get it. Boundaries are boundaries. If you ever need a beer and a place to scream, you've got my garage. I hadn't heard from Uncle Dave in years. But apparently he had a Devon story too, involving a destroyed RV and a borrowed ATM card. Classic. But not everyone was on Team Sanity. I started getting texts from numbers I didn't recognize. Stuff like, kicking out a baby? What kind of monster are you? God is watching you. You'll get yours. Karma's a bitch. I wanted to ignore them, but Trina insisted we catalog everything. This isn't just family drama now. This is bordering on harassment. Then came the knock on my door. Friday evening. I was halfway through microwaving leftover Thai when the ring chime pinged, person detected, front door. I checked the feed. It was Juliana. Alone. Holding what looked like a manila envelope and a bundle of daffodils. I stared at the screen, brain buffering. Then she rang the bell. Twice. Trina had told me not to engage. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened the door, but only halfway. The security chain stayed on. Curtis, she began, instantly tearing up. Please don't slam the door, just, please. I'm not slamming. I'm listening, I said carefully. She held out the flowers. These are from my daughter. I mean, she's one. She didn't pick them, obviously, but you know. I didn't know. She held up the envelope. This is a written apology. From Devon. I tilted my head. She went on quickly. He's scared. After the lawyer letter, he freaked out. Said you were going to destroy his life. He's been spiraling. I said nothing. Look, I'm not defending him. She added. He does this thing where he thinks if he bulldozes hard enough, everyone will just cave. But I think this time he really miscalculated. Why are you telling me this? She hesitated. Because I'm leaving him. That stopped me. I moved back in with my sister. Devon doesn't know. I took the baby and left 2 nights ago. He's still telling people we're staying with friends in Long Beach. But the truth is, I'm done. I can't raise my daughter with someone who treats entitlement like a full-time job. I didn't know what to say. I know I came in hot, she said softly. I thought I was joining some chill family commune situation. Instead, I walked into a property dispute with matching throw pillows. I laughed. Against my better judgment, I laughed. She set the apology and the flowers down on my porch. I just wanted you to know, some of us see it now. What you did wasn't cruel. It was brave. I wish I'd done it sooner. And then she walked away. I stood there in the doorway, Thai food going cold behind me, watching the woman who helped nearly implode my life walk down my steps like someone finally stepping off a battlefield. And that's when I realized, the battle wasn't over. It was just finally turning in my favor. The apology letter was, unsurprisingly, garbage. It wasn't handwritten, it was printed, double-spaced, with Times New Roman font and his name bolded at the bottom like it was a resume. The first paragraph was sort of an apology, in the same way a weather app apologizes for rain. I'm sorry things escalated the way they did. The rest? A 5-point bullet list titled, My Side of the Story. I swear to you, point 3 literally said. Curtis has always had control issues, stemming from our childhood dynamic. He's had a tendency to overreact when his personal space is breached. Bro tried to psychoanalyze me while still using my shower loofah 48 hours ago. Point 5 was the kicker. I hope we can sit down with a mediator, Mom, and come to an understanding that respects both our needs moving forward. I didn't even read the back. I just slid the letter into the folder Trina had labeled Delusion Exhibits. But that weekend? Things finally broke. Saturday afternoon, I went to check my mailbox and found a handwritten note from my mom. No postage. She must have driven over, dropped it off by hand, and peeled out like the suburban vigilante she's slowly become. The letter began with, I'm not taking sides, which is always a promising start from someone taking sides. She wrote about how Devon made mistakes, sure, but he's your brother. And we don't abandon family when they're struggling. And then, in what felt like a line lifted straight from a passive-aggressive parenting blog, you didn't handle this with grace. A phone call could have changed everything. Instead, you brought shame on our family by involving the police. I folded the letter in half, then again, until it was the size of a postage stamp. Then I lit a scented candle and gave it the Viking funeral it deserved. By Monday, I was back at work, trying to return to normal. Just a guy with a job, a house, and a family who wanted to colonize him like a real estate investment. But then I got an email from the HOA. Subject line: Unauthorized activity on property, urgent review needed. My stomach dropped. I opened the email. Attached were photos. Security cam stills from the community entrance showed Devon, Sunday night 2 a.m. sneaking onto my lawn. What was he doing? Planting signs. Handmade yard signs. Sharpie on cardboard. Crooked stakes. The works. The photos showed 3 different signs. This house was stolen from family. Shame on Curtis. Real men help their brothers. It was like he was staging a political campaign against me. In my own grass. The HOA flagged it as public defamation and unauthorized landscaping. Trina flagged it as evidence. I flagged it as the most unhinged thing I'd seen since my ex tried to adopt a turtle during our breakup. I pulled up my Ring footage and sure enough, there he was, hoodie up, tiptoeing like a cartoon burglar across my lawn with signs in one hand and what looked like an ice Red Bull in the other. I didn't know what he was planning to accomplish. Humiliate me? Pressure me into letting him back in? Stage a low-budget revolution? What he actually accomplished was getting arrested. Again. This time, for trespassing and violating the cease and desist. I didn't even have to call the police. Trina had already filed a watch request with local patrol due to the previous incident. A cruiser just happened to be circling the area at 2:18 a.m. They saw the signs. They saw Devin. They saw the Red Bull. The arrest report noted that Devin attempted to claim ownership of the property due to fraternal rights, and asked if he could make one more sign real quick. Trina texted me the booking info with a single emoji, direct hit. And just like that, the Devin saga entered a new phase. No longer the entitled sibling demanding room and board. Now he was the lawn prophet. And the worst part? He wasn't done yet. The court date came fast. Between the trespassing charge, the violation of the cease and desist, and what Trina delightfully referred to as reckless cardboard activism, Devin had managed to compile an entire dossier of bad decisions. He didn't hire a lawyer. He showed up in a wrinkled polo, tried to represent himself, and opened with, "Your Honor, I just want to say I respect property, but I also respect brotherhood." It went downhill from there. He rambled about shared childhood equity, claimed emotional distress, then tried to hand the judge a printed screenshot of a BuzzFeed article titled, "Signs You're the Black Sheep in a Toxic Family." The judge blinked. Then calmly read the cease and desist order, reviewed the video footage, and stated, in the flattest voice imaginable, "You entered a home that was not yours. Twice. You posted defamation signs. And you're asking for leniency, because of brotherhood?" Devin nodded like he just laid out the Gettysburg Address. The judge turned to me. "Mr. Thompson, do you wish to proceed with full charges?" I glanced across the courtroom. Devin looked like a man who hadn't slept in a week. Maybe he hadn't. Maybe it finally hit him that every bridge he'd ever freeloaded across had crumbled behind him. I looked at Trina. She gave me a subtle nod that said, "Up to you." I turned back. "I'd like to drop the criminal charges, but keep the no-contact order in place." The judge nodded. "Granted." Devin slumped like he'd just been hit with an invisible tranquilizer. Outside the courthouse, I didn't wait. I didn't shake his hand. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked to my car, started the engine, and drove home to my empty driveway. My pristine lawn. My house, quiet, undisturbed, and finally mine again. Weeks passed. Spring melted into early summer. My mom stopped calling. I didn't chase her. The silence felt cleaner than any forced reconciliation could. Juliana reached out once. A short text. "Thank you for setting the boundary I couldn't." I wished her well. I meant it. And me? I got new locks. A new security system. And, just for the irony, one of those protected by owner signs on the front lawn. Sometimes I sit out back on my patio, bourbon in hand, and think about everything. Not in anger. Not even regret. Just clarity. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who respects your boundaries. And sometimes, the strongest kind of love is knowing when to lock the damn door.